Hello Movie Mavens, welcome back to another video on the B Movies channel. My name is Bailey and I put the B in movies. I hope you are all having a wonderful week. Just to be honest with you, I am recording this at 5:30 a.m. on Friday morning. I'm sure you saw the announcement about our video being late this week, and I've always been honest with y'all to the degree I feel comfortable being, but I just want to be really straightforward as to why this video's late. I'm obviously not going to get into like all the nitty-gritty details of my personal life or anything, but yeah, we've talked about this before. This year has been one of the worst years of my life, and it is only, we are getting ready to go into May. There is a lot of uncertainty in my life right now. There are a lot of big messy feelings with some things that are going on in my life right now, and I just feel like I've been trying to minimize what I've been going through, and I feel like it has just been one thing after another since the year started. And so last night I was going to record. I usually record on Wednesday nights or Thursday nights, and I just couldn't. I got maybe 2.5 or 3 hours of sleep last night. I'm always up early. If you know me, I'm an early person. I used to be a night owl, and I do have insomnia, but I'm usually up by 4 or 5 to get my day started because it takes me a while to be a human being. But I just couldn't record yesterday. It just didn't happen. If you can't tell, I have been crying a lot. That's why my voice sounds like this. That's why, please know, like, I regularly test for COVID with my allergies and everything because they're so bad that, you know, I just am responsible in that way. But I'm just having I'm straight up not having a good time, bro. And, like, I'm fine. I'm safe. Like I said in the video in January, like, you know, if you're struggling, please reach out to 988. I will link that below as well. But again, just know, if you feel like you're struggling, if you feel like your world is crumbling, if you feel like the world is crumbling, you aren't alone. I finally last night was kind of talking to myself, I guess is the best way to put it. I was in my head and I was just kind of like, you need to be honest that you're not having a good time, that you're having a hard time, and that this year has just kind of sucked majorly. And so I want to apologize for this video being late. I will say we've been doing this for close to a year, which is crazy, and this is the first time we've ever been late on an upload. But I try to be as honest with y'all as I can. I'm pretty much an open book. You know, there are some things I shouldn't talk about for safety concerns, or, you know, that I'm just not ready to share with like a big public online audience. But I just wanted to be honest in today's Bailey's Babble and be like, I am going through it, to put it lightly. This is, again, my mom died in 2022, and this year cumulatively has been worse than 2022 was. And like, losing my mom is obviously a huge and devastating tragedy for me, for my family. I miss her every single day. But this year, and we are only 4 months in, has been worse than the year my mom died. And that's just, I'm just being straightforward. So again, if you are struggling or you feel alone, please reach out to 988, reach out to your friends or family. I know that sometimes with 988 people are apprehensive. Please know that it is confidential, and that you can you don't have to give your real name. You can give an alias. So I don't want that to deter anyone. I don't want you to be scared that anyone's going to find out. It is anonymous, and you can give a fake name. And so just please reach out to those resources. Please reach out to your friends or family, anyone that you are comfortable with, be it chosen family, biological family, friends, whoever. But yeah, I'm just, if this is another low energy video, again, I apologize, but I finally just hit my wall last night, and just with everything that's been going on, I'm like, I can't. So, apologies again for the late video. I hope all of y'all are doing okay. I'm not, but I'm safe. Don't worry about anything like that. But that's just why today's video is late, is yeah. I don't even know if I've done my intro. Welcome back to the B Movies channel. My name is Bailey. I put the B in movies. I don't even know if, I did my intro, but to give it one more, hello, Movie Mavens. Welcome to the B Movies channel. My name is Bailey and I put the B in movies. If you've made it this far, this is obviously not how our videos normally start. I did start that one in January, and I do try to be honest with you, but it's usually, I feel like, not this intense. But I just kind of wanted to give y'all some context why this video was late. If there are sometimes I seem a little bit more low energy, that's just why, is your girl is going through it, and it's going to be okay, but it's just a lot to handle, and I just realized last night I need to stop minimizing the things that are going on in my life. So, now that we have all of that out of the way, I had entirely different notes down for Bailey's Babble, but that's going to be the Bailey Babble for today. So let's go ahead and do our blog roundup. If you are new here, the B Movies channel is a continuation of the B Movies blog, where we post new pieces and reviews about pop culture every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. CT. Sometimes WordPress and I get into a little bit of a fight, but it's always around 10 a.m. CT. And there's over 250 pieces over there. You can also subscribe and have these pieces sent straight to your inbox. If not, 10 a.m. CT. I have a hair in my eye. Oh my gosh. So, this week over on the B Movies blog, on Monday we talked about pro-choice horror movies. I have noticed a trend with things like The First Omen and Immaculate, and I believe this to be because of Roe v. Wade being overturned. I think that there's a lot of pro-choice content coming out. We here at B Movies are obviously pro-choice, and so I just explore that space a little bit. On Tuesday, we talked about film adaptations of books. I know that Elliot is more of a bookworm than I am. I devoured the Indian Lake Trilogy, which we'll get to in a second. But, if you're gonna, the fastest way to get me to read a book about something is if they're gonna make a movie about it. I will immediately buy the book if I'm able, and speed through the book. On Wednesday, we talked about DVD menus. It is like the Hot Topic piece. Of course, I use DVD menus to talk about the good old days and everything in that vein. So that is up on the blog as well. Thursday, we talked about Monkey Man, which that movie rules. If you can, it's on, it's still in theaters. It's also on VOD. So if you can see it, I definitely would recommend seeing Monkey Man. I think it's excellent. Excuse me, and I do think that it is actually going on my list of my favorite movies of this year. It's that good. Do believe the hype around this one, because I think some of y'all may get mad at me because we're going to talk about something in a minute that I believe was way overhyped. And then finally, today on the B Movies blog, or you may be seeing this Saturday, but yesterday, today, Friday, I talk about the Indian Lake Trilogy. There are some content warnings and trigger warnings, because the Indian Lake Trilogy, there's essay, there's rope, there's S-side, there's S-side ideation. There are a lot of, there's essay of a child. And it's not, like, please know, it's not taken in a poor context. It is, I believe it's handled well. I believe that it's written well. But just a heads up on those books and my piece as well. So just don't take those content warning and trigger warnings lightly. And that's going to be our deep dive today. But I devoured this trilogy. My Heart is a Chainsaw is probably one of my new favorite books of all time. And I just, again, we'll get to it in a second, but I really wanted to do something with these books because I read all 3 of the books, which is like 1,300, 1,400 pages in 6 to 7 days. Like, I just devoured them. And so I love them personally, and I can't recommend them enough, but I do understand if you can't read them, because they're definitely some trigger warnings, content warnings. So just to recap, this week on the B Movies blog, pro-choice horror movies, film adaptations of books, an ode to DVD menus, Monkey Man, and the Indian Lake Trilogy. And I'm actually going to start doing this with today's video, but I will actually link all 5 pieces down below so you have all of them in one place. And again, if you want to look and explore any of the other pieces, it's just bmovies.blog, which is also always linked below. So next up is our Bite Size Sunday teaser. If you are new here, again, Bite Size Sundays are little mini reviews I do of content that I want to talk about but don't necessarily constitute a whole piece. And I usually do a teaser, and it's usually very much a Hannibal Lecter, not straightforward teaser. But with the content of this particular show, I'm going to just tell y'all what it will be. So this is very rare if this will ever happen again, but just given the CWs and TWs for this, and I'll put it on the Bite Size Sunday review, which those are Instagram exclusive. It's just at B Movies channel, same as our YouTube. They only live over there, they don't live on the blog, and you can only get the teaser here. It's a perk of being subscribed to the YouTube channel. We're going to talk about Baby Reindeer, because I do think Baby Reindeer is one of the best shows I've watched this year. I think it could be extremely triggering for people. I am going to do a bunch of content warnings. I found something out allegedly about the creator that's icky, that I don't know. There's some allegations out too, and it's just something I want to talk about from the show itself, some of the implications of what happens when you share a story like this publicly in the age of technology and social media. And so just keep your eyes peeled. That'll be on our Instagram again around 8 or 9 a.m. CT on Sunday. So now that we have all the business wrapped up, let's go ahead and jump into today's deep dive. So the deep dive, again, if you're new here, this is where we just talk about one of our pieces over on the B Movies blog more in depth, or anything in that vein, or like a topic that's related to what we talked about on the B Movies blog. And so I do want to talk about the Indian Lake Trilogy by Stephen Graham Jones. And so it's not that I don't read, you all know this, like, I am such a pop culture person that I am at the movies, I'm watching show, I'm absorbing content, and so I just don't read that much. Like, Elliot is definitely, out of me and Elliot on B Movies, Elliot is definitely the bookworm. And something really has to grip me for me to, like, really just sit down and read. Like, I read a Stephen King book every October, like, we know that, but I was listening to, I love the podcast Scare You to Sleep, I believe I've talked about it before, hosted by Shelby Novak, and she had teased that she was doing an interview, and so it came out, and it turns out the interview was with Stephen Graham Jones. It's her and Jen Adams from, I believe, the Losers Club podcast, and they just talked about the trilogy, and it's spoiler free. And I had heard about My Heart is a Chainsaw, but it wasn't on my radar as high as it got. And so just hearing this interview and hearing how Stephen Graham Jones talks about these books and slashers and writing in general, I immediately ordered My Heart is a Chainsaw and Don't Fear the Reaper both. And I just devoured them. I immediately fell in love with J. Daniels, obviously, like, not in a romantic way, but, like, in the sense of I found a kindred spirit within J. Daniels. I recognized I've been in that position of a girl who just wants to get out of her hometown at any situation, at any cost. I've been that girl who I tried to escape reality and at the same time tried to keep myself tethered to reality through horror movies. And obviously, like, I'm different from Jade in the fact I was an honor student. I was in 98,000 clubs in high school. I was in marching band. I did all of these things. But you can hide a lot of pain behind eyeliner. And I think that Jade Daniels makes that very well known. And I can't recommend these series enough. Again, this series, and I put in the piece, there's a lot of trigger warnings and a lot of content warnings, but I can't recommend this piece enough, just to be, because, I mean, this is just, I feel like this is like a raw episode of the B Movies channel, but I also understand, my father was not an abooter to the degree that Jade's was, but my father was abusive to both me and my mother. It was verbally and emotionally for me. My mother was a lot worse. But I feel like even though I'm 31 years old, I just like found this kindred spirit in J. Daniels because I've been in her Doc Martens. Like, I've been in her shoes. I know what it's like to go through a lot of these things. And obviously, like, my trauma is different from hers, but I just really connected to this series. I love this subversion of the final girl because oftentimes, you know, like the final girl, that's why we have a final girl. She fights the battles we sometimes can't fight, or the battles we tried to fight and that we lost. And like, that's what she represents. And so Jade does this, but like, not all of Jade's demons are external. They are internal. They are, you know, the calls are coming from inside the house, literally. And so Stephen Graham Jones, thank you for giving us this trilogy. I already want to reread these books. I will probably reread these books sometime soon. And if you are like me and you know, like, we do a lot of things with Lights, Camera, Albums. We did it with Dante's Inferno. I like to connect movies to things. And so I made a list of like 7 movies that either are mentioned throughout the series that the series makes me think of. And so those movies are Scream, the 1996 Scream, the original, Halloween 78, the original Friday the 13th, Happy Death Day, Nightmare on Elm Street, Happy Birthday to Me, and the Fear Street trilogy. If you like this series, those are movies that I would recommend watching if you haven't seen. If you know all these movies and know the books, you can see the connection. Or if you're just looking for something to watch next that is in a similar vein, I wanted to get some recommendations as well. So this piece and all the other 4 that are live this week will all be linked below for you. So next up, let's move on to special features. And I'm scared people are going to get mad at me about today's special feature, one of the components of today's special features. The special features section is just reserved for topics that we may not write about, that we haven't written about yet, updates on all of our favorite analog horror and horror ARGs, just anything in that vein. And so the first thing I have up for you is my review of Abigail. And I feel like some people are going to get mad at everything I'm about to say. So I want to start up top. I enjoyed Abigail. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. However, I was a little disappointed. Again, I enjoyed this movie. Melissa Barrera was born to be a final girl. The rest of the cast is just chef's kiss. I just don't necessarily agree that this is Radio Silence's best movie. I do think their screams and Ready or Not are stronger. Ready or Not is my favorite out of their stuff. Ready or Not is my favorite. I do agree that Ready or Not and Abigail are spiritual sequels. I fully get that. But I do also think that is to Abigail's detriment, because when you put them side by side, Ready or Not is much stronger. I have also never felt so validated in my entire life I was meant to write about pop culture, because I noticed something I clocked immediately was that the writing was different. I was like, the dialogue's really unnatural to me. Like, sometimes it's too fast, sometimes it's too slow. It just feels very stiff in some scenes. And then some of the jokes, because we know Radio Silence does horror comedy very well. And like Ready or Not, again, probably one of the best horror comedies out of the past 10 to 12 years, I would argue. I love Ready or Not. I've seen it numerous times. But the jokes in Abigail don't always quite land the way that I'm used to jokes landing in Radio Silence content. And that's when I found out. So they have a new writer, and one of the writers is the same, but they have a new writer for Abigail. So their writers were the same for both Screams. And Ready or Not had, I believe, the same writers as well. But they usually work with 2 to 3 writers. But this one, it's one of their writers who's worked on all 3, like Ready or Not and both Screams. But there's also a new writer. And if you're like, Bailey, that should not make that big of a difference, I promise you it does. It does. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't think it's a necessarily bad thing. But I'm just, really impressed with myself for clocking that the writing was different before I knew that there was a different writer on this one. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but I do think the writing on this is not as strong as their other work. I do think Abigail is worth the watch. I don't think it's a bad movie by any means. Excuse me. But I personally just don't believe it's Radio Silence's best. I would, if given the choice, I would pick Ready or Not or The Screams. That's just me. And again, we all know, I think Dan Stevens is one of the hottest men alive. I love Catherine Newton. I agree with Kevin Durant steals every scene that he's in. You even have Giancarlo Esposito in the mix. You have, rest in peace, Angus Cloud. That was very sad to know that was his last. I don't think sequentially it was his last role. I think that the strike swapped a couple movie releases around, but to know, this is, I believe, the last piece of content he was in before he passed away. That was very sad, but I just don't think it's Radio Silence's best. And I'll just be honest, I was disappointed. So that is my Abigail review. I'm sorry. I know. But it's worth the watch. I think it's fun. But again, I do believe it was really overhyped, because I was really looking forward to this one, and I was a bit let down. So moving off of that, before people start sharpening their pitchforks and coming for me, let's talk about the Blair Witch Project original cast and their current plight. So I will link Mike's Instagram post below. But the original cast of the Blair Witch Project is rightfully asking for retroactive royalties for the Blair Witch Project, as well as consultation and a yearly grant to be given to an aspiring filmmaker named after the film. I think these demands are more than fair. The Blair Witch Project is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I think it has really contributed to the shaping of modern horror. I think it's one of the best found footage movies of all time. It would probably even be in one of my favorite just movies of all time. And I do believe they are owed the right, because this movie is very important. And, you know, Lionsgate and Blumhouse are doing a reboot, and I do think it's fair to consult them, and I do think that there's money to give them what they're owed. So that's just how I feel. I agree. Excuse me. And so I will link Mike's Instagram post below where he outlines what they're asking for. I also think it's really awesome that they want to give an aspiring filmmaker, I believe it's a $60,000 grant every year. It's like the Blair Witch Project grant is what I believe the name is. And I don't think that these are outrageous demands at all. I think that they were part of this huge cultural phenomenon. It's still a cultural phenomenon. You know, we still talk about it. It's still such a culturally known reference that there are still jokes about it in content to this day. And that movie is 25 years old. And so I will, again, link Mike's Instagram below. Please share the word. And fingers crossed for them that they do get their demands met, because I believe they are more than worth it. So the last thing I have for today's special features is there is this cute little account, and see, we know I'm not a big TikTok girly, and I mean, you know, with it potentially going away anyway, I'm like, I don't think now's the time to start. I finally made a TikTok account, but like that's about it. I'm never on it ever. Excuse me. And so, Loie Lane, in a recent Scary Side of TikTok video on her channel, she mentioned this TikTok account, but you can also see them on YouTube. I'll link their YouTube below. Called the Ministry of Latent Places. And these are, each video, it showcases like a different cryptid or anomaly. It feels like SCP, but some of it I feel like is darkly funny, like the little guys. And I just think it's very fun. I think it's very unique. I've been binging their content on YouTube, on their YouTube shorts. But I would definitely check out their channel. I think it's very fun. And there's some crazy stuff in there. But it's set up basically like different little case files from the Ministry of Latent Places. So I would definitely recommend it. So that will do us for our special features. So last up, we have our subtitles, which are just little pieces of pop culture news from around the internet that I think are fun. So first up, Steve Buscemi and Tandy Newton have signed on for Wednesday Season 2. Fallout has been renewed for a Season 2. I just started it. I'm a couple episodes in. I'm really enjoying it. Like, we know I'm not a big video game girly, but I do like a lot of the adaptations. Like, I loved the Twisted Metal. I'm so excited the Twisted Metal got renewed because I was very scared it was not going to. And especially with it ending on a cliffhanger. I'm very happy that it did get renewed. Cleat Cute, which is, it's a sapphic love story. It got really big on TikTok about soccer players. It's getting a film adaptation by Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird. Very excited for that. A sequel to Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, with the original cast is getting ready. It's in pre-production right now. Domhnall Gleeson and Sabrina Impecatore, I probably just butchered that. She's from White Lotus. They've been cast in the Office reboot, spinoff, sequel. I don't know what exactly we're calling it, but they have been cast in that. Lindsay Anderson Beer will be directing a remake of Sleepy Hollow with Paramount Pictures. That's upcoming. It also seems like we're getting a new Childish Gambino album, ? There are a couple of cryptic posts over on Donald Glover's Instagram alluding to a tour, alluding to new music. I've seen some articles, so I do believe a new Childish Gambino album is underway. And then lastly, the trailer for Trap dropped, and I'm really intrigued by this one. It's giving me kind of Mr. Brooks vibes, and I really like this subversion of, instead of we are trying to capture someone who unalives people, the person who unalives people is trying to get out of the trap. And I'm excited. It's M. Night Shyamalan, for those who don't know. And like M. Night, like, it's so, man, like, you're so hit or miss for me, my dude. I'm sorry. But I'm hopeful about this one. I think it looks really good. And just fingers crossed that it is good, because I love Josh Hartnett. I think it has a really good premise. So we will see come August if it holds up, because I'm sure we will talk about it. So I just want to thank you all again. Apologies for the late video. I just straight up not having a good time, bro, but I'll be fine. Even if I'm not right now, it will eventually all be okay. I just want to say, if you're not subscribed to this channel, be sure to subscribe. It is free. Feel free to give us a like if you feel so inclined. Leave a comment if you're feeling frisky. And yeah, be sure to follow me on Instagram. I am at Lisa_Frankenstein_. Elliot is at reading.with.red. There should be another book in the B Movies book club coming up soon. Follow us on Instagram at B Movies channel, just same as our YouTube. We do blog roundups on the Instagram. We post links to the blogs Monday through Friday. That's where we post Bite Size Sunday. So feel free to give us a follow over there. And so I think on that note, all that's left to do is fade to black.